Hi, this is Tim Meyer from Keep Yourself Relevant. Thanks for joining again today. Today, I want to spend in this video some time talking about a really good book that I read quite a number of years ago, and I continue to use it on a somewhat frequent basis in my role as a project manager. And it's The Six Thinking Hats by Edward DeBono. So what I want to do is spend a little time talking about what is it. Obviously, the six thinking hats, you can tell by the picture on the front of the book, it has these six different colored hats. And we'll spend a little time talking about what those mean, along with reviewing each of the six hats, and then also how you would use this in your role as a project manager or a manager of a team. So with that, let's get started. So what is it? So it really focuses in on what is termed as lateral thinking, and that's where you get the team to all think the same way for a period of time. That's not to say that you only think that way. Obviously, people are going to be able to think the way they want to think, but what you're trying to do is get the team focused to all be thinking in the same manner. So proverbially, you would put on a green hat and you'd be thinking about creative thinking, and you'd put on a blue hat, you'd do a different type of thinking. So the idea is that the whole team is focusing on the same type of thinking at the same time. And what that really does, and one of the benefits of it, is that it avoids the situation where, as you're going through the meeting, someone speaks out and is critical of a particular piece of the um, proceedings that you're going through or work that you're developing. So the idea is that you have an opportunity to be critical, and that's really when we put on the black hat, and we'll go over those in just a little bit here. But you have the ability to have that type of thinking at a certain point in time, but the idea is not to cloud the proceedings as with multiple types of thinking. So again, lateral thinking is just trying to get the whole team to think in the same way for a particular portion of the meeting. So the six hats are described here. So the white hat is the first one we'll talk about, and that's really where you spend some time talking about facts and figures. You try to get out what's really going to happen on your project, what's some of the background and information that you need. The next hat is the red hat, and these aren't in any particular order either. They're just the way I've laid them out here on the screen. That's dealing with the emotions and feelings. You want to try to get an understanding of how people are thinking, what people are thinking and feeling about a particular portion of the project. The black hat, obviously, is the critical thinking, where we're cautious and careful. We're critiquing the work that's being done at that particular time. Then yellow is speculative and positive. The idea is you're trying to look for the good information or good aspects of a particular idea or solution. A green hat is when you're trying to come up with what you want to do. So you can think of it as brainstorming, as a creative thinking exercise. And then the blue hat is really the control thinking, to make sure that everyone's either at the beginning of the effort, you're thinking about how are you going to manage all the thinking, or at the end, potentially, when you're trying to decide what are the next steps of the particular project. So again, these are the six different viewpoints, or the six different lateral thinking methods that you could employ with the six thinking hats perspective. So how do you use it? So you can use it two different ways. You can use it with just one hat for a specific purpose. An example would be just using the green hat for a brainstorming session. So let's say you're managing a team, and either a project or a department manager, and you just want to come up with a portion of your meeting agenda is to brainstorm ideas for the name of your team. So you would put on your green hats and everybody comes up with a list of ideas or options for naming your team, for example. Then another separate exercise might be something like where you just have the white hat to talk about facts in a meeting. So maybe you're doing a presentation and it's just facts and figures on what you've accomplished so far for the department up to that point. And then the second one is where you're potentially at an offsite project meeting to try to work through a potential project solution for a project that you just recently started. And here you would have a combination of hats that you would manage, and based on the agenda of your offsite, if it's a 1 day offsite or a 2 day offsite or whatever, you would section off parts of the agenda and then potentially use a portion of that agenda for a particular hat. So an example might be on the preparation, you would have your blue hat on when you're doing that. And that's really just, again, coming up with what's the different types of thinking that you're going to have throughout the offsite meeting. Then you actually get to the offsite. Maybe the first thing that you would do is put on your white hat. So you're talking through all the facts and figures that are known currently about the project that you're going to start on. Then you might move on to, okay, now that we have the facts and figures, what are all the ideas that we could have for solutions? So you'd put on your green hat and brainstorm your list of ideas. And again, you're just focusing on trying to generate the ideas for possible solutions. Once you're done with the brainstorming session, then you could potentially start with a black hat and then critique or try to eliminate some of the ideas. Are they too far-fetched? Are they not realistic? Whatever the criteria that you could come up with, everybody starts to look at the list of ideas and starts to critique them, so you can either find out the good and bad of them or eliminate some of the ideas. Then you might shift to a yellow to where you're more optimistic and trying to find the good in everything. You try to flush out the ideas that have merit. What are the ones that seem like they're positive and would be a good solution going forward? Then you might spend some time talking through and ask the team how they feel about the remaining ideas that are on your list. And that's really where you're putting then on your red hat that talks through all the different emotions and feelings that you might have across the team. And then you might close out the session with determining next steps on the project. And then you'd put on your blue hat where you're then trying to figure out all the different next steps. So this is sort of a quick summary of the 6 thinking hats and how to use that process in your role as a project manager. If you like this video, please consider giving it a like, and please consider subscribing. Thank you and have a good day. Bye.